Oops. Hey, this is Stacia, and we are going to look at another game that I played at Parma. This time I had the black pieces against Mingao Gu, and Mingao is a kid, and I'm not sure what his rating is, but I think it's like 1750, and for this game I was 1712, and let's see, what was the opening? Oh, it was a center game. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, let's have a look at this game. So I played Mingao once before, and he blundered a piece. He blundered a pawn fork, and then proceeded to outplay me and win the game when I was in time pressure. So that was a very painful loss. I don't think I showed that one on my channel because I just couldn't bring myself to relive that. So this time I was hoping to do a little better. And the first time that I played him, his opening was not very impressive. And I would say that this game follows suit. He played the center game. I mean, this is fine. But the way he played it, I don't think is impressive, but I think the way I played it is just not good. So I don't know this opening very well, but I figured, hey, knight c6 is a tempo on the queen, and I knew the queen would go here. And how bad could this be, right? So I ended up checking here. The move I wanted to play was knight to f6. And I calculated this. Well, I guess I'll show you. I thought if knight f6, e5 is possible. I could go knight g4, that would attack the queen. The queen could go to e4 though, and that would attack my knight, which is hanging. So I could play d5, which would be a tempo on the queen on e4. But he could play e takes d6 en passant check. And in that position, I thought I have to go bishop e6, blocking. So my bishop is pinned, but maintaining defense of the knight. And then I thought he could attack the pinned bishop with bishop c4. And I was like, wow, I don't think I want to go into this. Like, I might be losing. I'm not sure what's going on. And I think if it was a slow time control game, I might have tried to calculate a little more and figure out if this was okay or not. But I decided not to play it. Turns out it is okay, but my calculation was all correct. These are all the moves that the engine gives. Yeah, and I was just wondering about this move. You know, like he's threatening to take my bishop, and then my knight is hanging again. He might be able to throw this move in. Yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit nerve-wracking for me. So it turns out that in this position, I could play knight to f6. So we bring the knight back to safety and we attack that queen. Now the queen's going to have to move again. So let's say queen e3. And here I could go knight g4. We could get a draw that way. No, I'm not going to do that. But the computer likes queen takes d6. I'm not sure if I would play that though. What about, I think I would play knight to b4 just because it's like, hey, you're about to get forked and lose your queen and all your pieces. So I kind of like that move. I guess knight a3 is an obvious defense. But then we could rotate into the d5 square, blocking the capture on e6. So I actually like this, I think. I like this move. And so we can play from here, and this is actually better for black. So all of that is to say that in this position, I could play knight f6. I could have. But I had to trust my calculation. It looked iffy. So I instead played this way. I thought I would just trade my bishop off. And play d6 and put my pawns on dark squares to make my light square bishop happy. That was sort of my plan, but it's not the best plan because I'm a bit passive here. Like knight there and knight f6. Yeah, like the computer wants f5 right away because I need more center control, I think. And f5 is a little easier to play when the queen is not on d1, where you have to deal with that check. So, but I went here. Bishop d7. Passive. Castles. Queen e7. Okay. Queen e7 is an interesting move because I was scared during the game. Because after queen e7, and obviously I want to castle one way or the other, and I was definitely thinking queenside was my preferred way I wanted to go. But we're going to have to reckon with the move knight d5. So I have a question for you guys. After knight d5, is black lost? Are we going to lose the game? Or is there a defense? And if there's a defense, calculate it and tell me what it is. Okay, so during the game, I actually, at first, I was like, oh no, knight d5. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose. You know, because that attacks the queen, it attacks this. And if I have to play queen d8, then I just lost some serious time and I'm probably going to end up losing very painfully. But I calculated it out and I was like, okay, I think knight d5 is okay because what I will do is I will take that knight. And after pawn takes, yes, that's a tempo on my knight. So I will need to move my knight. So the knight will come to e5. Now here's the problem, right? White can pin me down the e file and attack with f4. So I thought after knight d5, there could be rook e1. And after rook e1, white is threatening f4. So I thought there I could castle. And then if f4, the nice thing about this is I can play knight takes d3, and that's with check. And if that wasn't with check, I'd be in real trouble because my queen would be hanging, right? The rook on e1 would be attacking my queen on e7. So because I have check, he would take back, and then I can move my queen maybe to f6 or something. So this actually happened mostly in the game. He did play this. He looked excited when he played it. So I think, you know, at first glance, he thought it was winning as well. But I went ahead and took that knight. Takes. Yeah, and I think he also saw that I have knight takes d3 check to get out of this. So instead of f4, he played knight f3. Now, I analyzed this game with Michael Jolson, and he looked at the move knight takes e3, and it was really interesting. So let's see if we can calculate this really quickly. If knight takes e3, there's rook takes e7, but our argument is that we will go knight takes d2. Now he could take the knight, or he could, oh, he probably has to take the knight, right? Because the rook's not under attack. So take, and I guess it's my turn. Now I could play rook f8 guarding my pawn, and then threatening this move to trade everything. Who's better in that position? I'm actually not sure. So let's have a look. Wow, computer does like rook hf8. And I would expect white to double here. And then I think we can challenge, was the idea. Oh, and if I recall, I think Michael Jolson had this crazy idea to play bishop e6, which is a really cute idea. Apparently it doesn't work, but we're separating the connection of the rooks so that if takes, oh, that's not going to work. Never mind. I think he played it in a different position. Probably like something like this. No, I don't know what the position was, but there was definitely a rook here, and then he played here to take it. Or maybe the king was over here. So anyway, that move is playable. It's pretty crazy. It's wild that that's playable, isn't it? So, and if he doesn't, I mean, he could play this way too. But then I would go queen f6. I think black's better now. I mean, there's weak pawns and they're already attacked. So that's not good. Okay, but I did this one. And queen f6 was my idea. Yeah, and this is a fascinating move by my opponent. I kind of scoffed at this move when I first saw it. But in hindsight, I think it's kind of a deeper move than I gave him credit for. So I was like, trade queens into an equal ending. I'm so scared. Okay, and that kind of is what it is. But he's arguing that his knight will be better than my bishop. That's his argument. Now, when I take the queen, which I did, I kind of have to, that knight comes to a very powerful square in the middle. So, you know, is this a good knight versus bad bishop ending? Well, it isn't yet because all the rooks are on the board, but there isn't much to do besides trade them off. So that kind of happens. Rook e5. But he defended this way. Double, takes. Okay, rook there. Oh yeah, and it turns out too, this is fascinating, I thought taking with the rook was the most natural move in the world. Turns out that taking with the pawn is better in this case. Now that blocks my rook. And I didn't play this way during the game because I thought, okay, I have a majority here. But his majority is further along. So I don't like that, you know, which is probably correct. But this move does something very important. The pawn takes the knight off the very strong d4 square. And the knight will have to reroute. And that's going to make all the difference. So I should have played that way. Yeah, and it just turns out that this endgame is bad for me unless I find one key idea. So if you want to pause your video and try to figure out that key idea, go ahead and do so now. Okay, so if you guys are like me, you probably noticed that, well, it's the endgame. We should bring our king up. But when you start to look at the king moves, it just feels like white is much faster, right? Like, even if I make it here, that white king is going to be further into my position. And with the pawns further into my position and the knight on the ideal d4 square, it is in fact worse for black. Now, from what I know about bishop and knight endings, bishops can be good because they can roam both sides of the board. But this knight is dominating my bishop. And I don't have a lot of weaknesses to attack because it's mostly a closed position. So if I play normal, which I did, I just end up much worse. I have to find a key idea. And the computer starts giving it as early as right here before I even play king d8. And that is the move. Well, the move is to move my c-pawn. c5 or c6 are both the moves that are good for black to hold. a5 is also an option, but not as good as c5. what's the idea behind this move? It looks anti-positional. I'm creating a permanent weakness on d6, but I'm trying to kick the knight away. That's the idea. This knight cannot stay on d4, or I'm just going to suffer. So, and if white takes this way, we take with a pawn, and now the threat is renewed. We're still going to kick that knight out. So we could also play just c6 immediately. This is also fine. If he takes, once again, we want to go for c5. And if he doesn't take, like let's say he just goes here, now we can play c5. There's no en passant. That's cute, isn't it? And I think it's fascinating that the computer thinks this move, this idea of kicking the knight, is so strong that it's willing to spend 2 tempos and let the white king come into the position while we do this. So very fascinating. So for example, here, the knight, maybe it goes to b3. We could go b5, pawn break. Now we're trying to open the position for our bishop. And if he goes a3, trying to stop that, I guess. Well, I would take. What? Why would I not take that? Oh. So it looked free, but it's not free. So, and then here we go, bishop b5 defending it. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, and now this is equal. So I don't want to go into the ending more than that, but I will show you what happened. I was trying to keep my pawns on dark squares to keep my bishop happy, but I really like the way my young opponent played this. He immediately went for this c5 pawn break, which computer approves. And this is scary, right? Because now he's going to make a passed pawn in the center. And my bishop just can't do anything. That's the problem. Yeah, and this was actually the losing move, but it's just hard to play black. If you don't kick that knight out earlier, I guess, yeah, it's the computer still wants c6, like right now. I mean, I don't know. And then it wants me to take here. I don't trust this position either, but apparently this is a draw. This would be really hard for me to see. Yeah, but I started burning a lot of time as well. And then I think I put king g6 on the board fairly quickly, probably with less than 3 minutes on my clock. And I do believe he had like 8 minutes. But this is the losing move because of this move. Yeah, and the king comes in. I guess c6 also wins. But the king gets in. And he can check me here. And, I mean, mind you, I didn't want to play this move. But I really can't let the king come in like that. So when I play this, now the knight maybe can come in, especially after this move check, and the knight comes in. And there is a 2100 player, an expert in our club, and he told me after the game that this move I played is just terrible. He said, do not take that knight. You need to keep your bishop. It's your only source of counterplay. He said, if you take the knight, you have no chance to hold. You're just going to lose. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to lose anyway because there's check, losing a pawn, and there's losing a pawn directly. And then, stuff's coming. He's like, yes, I know all that. But what you need to do is, let him take a pawn and then get your bishop active and try to get counterplay. So it turns out that I should have done that. So maybe a move like, c6. And I would expect him to check. And I guess I could go here. And that way when he takes, I could take here or something. If he takes there, I take this. Yeah, and suddenly, I mean, this isn't best play by white. But suddenly, this illustrates his point that now I've got play, right? I've got some pawns to attack, and well, that play didn't work out like he wanted, and I've got a majority, and my bishop's going to fly all around the board now and make problems for him. That is what I should have did. So last time I go into a king and pawn ending, I didn't want to lose a pawn, but I also did realize this was losing. I just didn't know what to do. So I guess I didn't want to admit that I was completely lost, but I'm completely lost. Yeah, so this is what happened in the game. Something like that. I had to reconstruct that. But anyway, yeah, painful game. So once again, and you know, Mingao Gu, the 1700 rated kid, he won this strong quad. He took down everybody. He beat all 3 players, including Rich Gideon from last video. So, wow, kudos to him. And he outplayed me in an endgame completely. So let's ask ourselves, what would I need to do to beat a player like Mingao Gu, who is probably 1900 now? So this time we have the kiddo version of a 1900. So once again, he played an opening that I did not know very well. And I misstepped. I think knight f6 is very necessary here. Instead, I did this and ended up playing too passively. So, yeah, I don't know. So I didn't know the opening, and I tried to make quick moves, and I ended up worse. Yeah, I think I'm just worse here already. And honestly, I was just lucky that I have a resource here. So, and I calculated well. My calculation's getting better. So that is good. That is something I will continue to work on. But I do think I need to study the center game opening, which I already did. Okay, so I did take there, and yeah, I think, you know, this move, I should have seen that move, but I did not. Yeah, and wow, that's the last time I scoff at a queen trade. Now, is that queen trade the best move? No, but it's second best. The computer gives it as second best. And rook e3 is the best, I guess. Just threatening to double, in which case I would double too. So this might end up very similar anyway. So kudos to him. He found this move. And it turns out that this is an equal endgame if and only if I realize I have to dislodge the knight. Yeah, and the computer starts giving that idea. I mean, right here, because pawn takes is not very natural. And then even once the rooks are gone, yeah, it didn't want to bring up the king. It wants to do this or this. So I hope that was instructive for you guys too. I definitely learned something from this game. Now these ideas are fresh in my head for when I go to Kings Island next month. That's my next big tournament. I will be driving down, well, I will be riding down with Brian Castro, my training partner. And we are going to see if we can pull out a good tournament for the chess punks. Actually, that's not even true. I'm playing up a section. So, you know, when I play up a section, I just want an over 50% score. Like 50% would be good. I won't be upset with that. But more than 50% would be amazing. So that is my goal. And of course, I want to win against my first USCF expert. I have drawn 2 now, I think. Yeah, I've drawn 2. And I guess I've taken a win against Jim Nix more than once. But he is rated under 2,000 currently. But he has been over 2,000 before. So, anyway, I want to take down an expert in one of these tournaments. So that is the plan. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll be back with more chess. Okay, bye.